Hello, my name is Lucas. This is Bit of Lit, and I want to talk about the only Stephen King book that I find worth reading almost. It still suffers from his prose and dialogue and some weird and wacky choices made, but overall, I would say it is the one book of his that I've read. I haven't read them all, so please forgive me. Of the handful of books that I've read, it is the only one that has the atmosphere that it's trying to go for. It's creepy at times and haunting in some ways, and then the dialogue gets in the way, or the the narration, the prose gets in the way, because he's not a prose stylist in any way. He's never written an interesting sentence in his life. He's only had interesting ideas for his stories, and that's okay. Not every writer can be great at everything. But this is Salem's Lot by Stephen King, which talks about Ben Mears, who is a writer who's returning to Salem's Lot in Maine to write a book about the Marston house. When he comes back, he falls in love with this woman, and so quickly. It's terrible. It is terrible. It is awful. And meets up with a friend, and he starts to learn about this house that he had a bad experience with when he was young, and that is quite a haunting thing for him. And I would say that the Marston house is one of those things that actually does give chills in some way, before it gets ruined by the narration. I can't be too nice when I'm talking about Stephen King. You might think that I've been replaced by some counterfeit Lucas. But it can be kind of chilling the way it is described until it becomes silly. Anyway, this Austrian immigrant, Barlow, who has a companion, buys the Marston house, and he wants to open an antique shop in Salem's Lot. Barlow is a vampire, though, and that's just not good. Not good at all for just about anybody. Coincidentally, some might say, this Ralphie kid goes missing around the same time, and his brother Danny has died, and then the town gets its first vampire, and then it starts getting more and more and more, and it becomes out of control in a way, and our main characters go through this rigmarole of danger with these vampires, and the woman Ben falls in love with, she's got to go because she was there to add drama to the story and sorrow, and it was a bad decision, dramatically speaking, in my opinion. But that's fine. So the reason I think that this works, I'm really close to enjoying this novel, because there are moments that are actually kind of like uncomfortable. There are moments that are unnerving, make you uneasy, the way a horror novel probably should, or can, or it's at least effective enough to set the mood and the tone and the atmosphere. Maybe you're not the kind of person that gets scared when you read a book, no matter how empathetic or how much you can imagine it, that's fine. I tend not to get scared either. I find horror to be funny mostly, which is why Stephen King absolutely does not work for me. um, like, okay, for example, I've read 4 seasons. There are prose issues I have with it. But, you know, one of the stories is Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption. And I think the movie is better, but there are some really, really cool things about the novella. And when he's not trying to be a horror writer and write a story like that, it's not as bad. There's still prose and dialogue issues with Stephen King, but yeah. Anyway, this book does make me feel sort of uncomfortable at times, in a good way. And the way that the vampires are treated as an infection, I think it just makes the most sense, and it makes the idea of a vampire, more terrifying, in a way, because you slowly start to lose people around you, and they're not just dead, they're vampires, and the way it's done is effective. I think most vampire stories probably do that. I don't read a whole lot of vampire stories, so I don't know, but movies I've seen with vampires they have that trope kind of, but the way it's done, it doesn't feel scary. Anyway, the way it's done in this book, I think, is effective. So, as there's still some issues that I don't like. Like the main woman character is just there for dramatic purposes, not to explore human relationship in any way, just to anyway, and the prose and the dialogue can be quite silly. Also, there's this moment that stuck out to me the first time I read it, and this time, which character is it? It's just it doesn't really matter. It's something that Stephen King does frequently, from what I've noticed. Main characters that are good guys go by their first name, or say call me Ben or whatever, and bad characters will be called by their last name and this kind of thing. And which character is it? It's gonna bother me. It's somewhere before the I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, it's worth reading. I would say this is his best book that I've read, at least. So worth a shot. Have a good one.